Hello guys and welcome back, and in this video we are going to discuss if you wish to actually work at Facebook. What are the languages you have to learn? Now obviously this video is technically not a guide where you will actually watch this video and you will start working at Facebook, but this will give you an idea what kind of a languages Facebook is using, and if you're aspiring to work in Facebook, which everyone does, even I'm doing. So these are the languages which we have to focus as a student, if I may, so that we can get our chances improved to work at Facebook. So let's quickly get started. Now obviously if anyone is not aware what is a programming language is a way with which we instruct computer. So we give instructions to a computer and it will follow the instructions and it will give the result back. Now why programming language is important? Because programming languages can actually mimic what a human being tends to do. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say if I talk about a calculator. What is a calculator? Calculator is a mini human being who can do calculation on behalf of you. You give an instruction, I want to add 2 plus 2. So obviously what calculator will say, your answer is 4. Now if you can give this kind of an instruction to a machine and if it can give you the output based on that, this is what a programming language is. Now why we are discussing this? Because obviously Facebook is a very big company. So what kind of languages Facebook is using and what should be our focus in behalf of that? So first of all, Facebook is using Python. Now if you are not new to this channel, you must have heard about Python many times from me. What is Python? Python is actually quite an interesting programming language if I talk about. Now obviously since I don't work at Facebook, I cannot simply say that this is the exact work they are doing, because obviously these are some hidden facts of the company. Company is never going to reveal what they do with what is supposed to be with the programming language. But what I can assume is Python might be used for Facebook internal purposes and in terms of data analytics if I talk about. So one data analytics is obviously available for us as a business if I talk about, and one data analytics is available at Facebook level. So what people are doing, all the ads platform which are running, so all this kind of an analysis which is supposed to happen is done using Python. Now this is obviously an assumption. I'm not pretty sure that this is what they are doing. The next language which they are using is Erlang language. Now obviously I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but yes, this is what they are doing. Now the beauty of this particular language is it creates scalable, soft, real-time systems. Now real-time systems, what are real-time systems? Which can actually interact with human beings on a real time, just like a live session. So whenever we come live, if you have a question, you always ask us the question and we give you the response instantaneously, and this is what real-time scalability, or I would say a real-time system is. Now what they are using it, they are actually using it for the OTP authentication which happens at the Facebook level. So we have WhatsApp, we have Instagram, we have Facebook as the application. So you can imagine if you're actually serving around 2.1 billion users. So you can imagine the kind of real-time scalability you need at that level, because obviously at a given time, I believe around 100 million people are requesting OTP from Facebook on an average. Now this is just an assumption, but you can imagine the kind of scale this has to be, because otherwise it will actually break. Just imagine you want to log into your WhatsApp and that is not connecting, OTP is not coming, and you will be doomed. The next language which we are going to focus on is PHP. I started with this language for a very simple reason, because whenever I searched how Facebook was built, PHP was the answer. It actually stands for Hypertext Preprocessor, and you can see it is actually known for its simplicity, speed, and flexibility. Now if I talk about my personal experience, I found PHP is quite a straightforward language. If you want to get started, you can get started easily without doing a lot of things. But yes, this language, if I talk about, is losing its grasp due to some new languages which are coming. But still, if I talk about, PHP is the core of Facebook if I talk about. So if Facebook is not dead, obviously this language will be required, and obviously they will be looking for people who can actually code on PHP. So the next language in our list is obviously C++. Now Avinash, when I talk about C++, it is very boring kind of a language. I cannot make Android applications out of it, iOS applications out of it. I cannot even make web applications out of it. So how would you say that Facebook is using C++? Well, try to understand C++ is one such language which has a very good way with hardware. What do I mean by that? Is it can talk to hardware in a very sophisticated and very calm way. Okay, so it is most preferred language if I talk about when you have to talk to hardware. See, basically what happens when you're actually working and making products for 2.1 billion people who are using your products and services on monthly basis, you have to understand, like, you have to actually go to the hardware level and you have to make sure that the processing is increasing, or the power of processing, the faster processing is happening, and this actually is done using C++, and that is why you can see it helps Facebook with backend services like ads, feeds, and search feature. So you have to understand, basically Facebook is using this particular language for the hardware services. Now obviously if they cannot use hardware, they cannot process the hardware part of it, it is going to get very difficult for them. The next language which we can say is quite popular is Java. Now Java is obviously, you can see Facebook uses for primitive data types in the absence of any low-level programming functionality. But second place where Facebook is using Java is their Android ecosystem. Their Android ecosystem. So try to understand, Java is actually a preferred language, if I may, for the Android ecosystem, if I may. The next language is obviously Haskell. Now you can see Haskell is used to create seamless applications, and it is an advanced and pure functional coding language with declarative and statically typed code. So basically what happens when you're working at a big scale, you need various kind of languages which can actually help you keep the scalability and the features which you wish to give to your users at the core level. So you can see how Haskell is actually helping Facebook leverage this power. Now if we'll move forward, next language for us is Rust. Now Rust is relatively a new language which Facebook is using. You can see here it uses Rust and utilizes all aspects of development, from source control to compilers. So basically what happens when you're working at a Facebook level, you have maybe 10,000 engineers working at your particular organization. So compiling process of your application, or I would say source control of your application, gets very, very difficult to manage. So this is where Rust is actually helping, and obviously it also teaches you how to code properly. So this is something which can be beneficial if you're starting your career. So you can understand these kind of languages are quite important at the Facebook level. Now, obviously, some students usually ask us the questions related to this. So let me actually answer a few questions. Which programming language is best for getting job in Facebook? Well, technically, I would say if you want to actually get a very good job, you should actually focus on C++, because this is one language which is still used by almost every company on the earth, which are big companies. If I talk about be it Amazon, be it Google, be it Microsoft, be it Facebook, I would say Meta, if I may. Okay, all big companies which have to deal with hardware are using this language one way or the other. So this can be a very good starting point. Obviously, if you don't feel like it, Java is one good language. Python is also a good language, or any other language which we have discussed in this particular video are better. Then, does Facebook use Python? Obviously, Facebook uses Python. And is Java or C++ better for getting job in Facebook? So see, basically, again, as I mentioned, if you want to get a job, obviously, job is not going to be given to you just because you have a Java language with you, you have a C++ language with you. It is going to be given to you when you have the proper skill set which is required at the Facebook level. So finally, if I want to conclude, I can say that Facebook uses majority of the language. The preferred language is obviously PHP for a very simple reason. PHP is one such language which actually is the core of Facebook. When Facebook was started, PHP was the language they started using. So it is actually one of the core language which Facebook is using even today. So ultimately, these are the languages you should be focusing on, but you should not stay with just these languages. You should focus on other technologies as well. If I talk about cloud computing, big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, because these skill sets are going to make sure that you are hired for a proper role and responsibilities. So until this, we have a new video coming in. Obviously, we will discuss about this, but if you have some questions or confusion, put them in the comment section of this particular video. We'll try our best to answer all your queries. And obviously, as we say, our motto is to make it big. So give a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. And with this, thank you for watching.